don't look like trash.
Welcome everybody to this video. Today we are going to be debating who is elite in the NFL as a quarterback. We have written down all the starting quarterback stats and our 2017 predictions to see which quarterback will be elite, which ones will make Pro Bowl, and then we're going to have a debate at the end, which is the greatest quarterback in the league at the time.
And best quarterback in each division.
Oh yeah, and then maybe if we have enough time, we'll probably do best quarterback for the future. Which means like Drew Brees would be erased, Eli Manning, older guys like that would be eliminated from that because they're old.
Yeah.
So would you like to start the stats for? So just say your division's stats, their 2016 stats, not their 2017 prediction. Just say their 2016 stats, and just say all their 2016 stats, and then so you can say who's the greatest in the division. We can just start off right there.
So, last year, Matt Ryan had 4,944 yards, 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions with a 117.1 quarterback rating. Cam Newton had 3,509 yards, 19 touchdowns, 14 interceptions with a 75.8 passer rating. Drew Brees had 5,208, 37 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and 101.7 quarterback rating. And Jameis Winston had 4,090, 28 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, and 86.1 quarterback rating. And the quarterback next year, who I'm saying will be the best, is either going to be Jameis Winston or Matt Ryan again.
What's your prediction for Jameis Winston and Matt Ryan next year?
Matt Ryan, I have him at going for 4,500 yards next season, 41 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and a 112.3 rating.
112?
Yes.
Thought I might have heard that wrong.
All right. And Jameis Winston, I have him going for 4,400 yards, 31 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, and a 90.1 quarterback rating.
Which kind of means that Jameis has to limit his interceptions. So do you think that Jameis is elite right now?
Not yet, because he's only going into this in his third year. Most quarterbacks aren't elite right off the bat. I give him by next year he'll start becoming elite.
Okay. I also see that this year his interceptions were very high for a quarterback. I think the only two. Oh no, Eli Manning. Yeah, only two quarterbacks who had higher or close or to as high was Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers had 21 interceptions last year and led the league.
Ryan Fitzpatrick also had a decent amount.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick. I'll go next. I'll start in the NFC North. Aaron Rodgers in 2016 did have 4,428 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions with a total 104.1 QBR. Matt Stafford had 4,327 yards, 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and 93.3 QBR. Mitch Trubisky, we can't say anything about last year for him, so we're just going to skip over him and we'll tell you my 2017 prediction stats for him. Sam Bradford had a pretty surprising year, 3,877 yards, 20 touchdowns, and limited the interceptions to 5 with a 99.3 QBR, the best of his career. At the moment, I do think that Aaron Rodgers is the best QB in the NFC North, but of the future, it'll probably be Matt Stafford as Aaron Rodgers' career is winding down. Aaron Rodgers is 4 years older than Matt Stafford. So once Aaron Rodgers starts getting out of his prime, Matt Stafford will start to ramp up. He has a couple more weapons this year. Has a improving defense. So I feel like the Lions will be able to make a splash later in their franchise. But Mitch Trubisky, I have him making a sort of a splash right off the bat in his career. 3,200 yards, 23 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 92.7 QBR next year. I don't know how he's gonna do with like the weapons that the Bears have. They don't have very many, so I'm not sure how they're gonna do with that. But Stan Bradford, if he's able to limit the interceptions, if he's able to get more touchdowns and pass a little bit more. I know they just drafted Dalvin Cook yesterday. 3,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. I wanted to put his touchdowns a little higher, but you look at his weapons now. He has Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, and that's pretty much it for this year. Maybe if they sign Bennett or Martellus Bennett in free agency, or maybe if they get maybe a receiver later in this draft. You don't really find people in like the 6th round though, so I'm not sure. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is probably the best quarterback there at NFC North.
Okay. So, should I do NFC West?
Do an AFC team.
Okay, so now we're gonna do the AFC East, which is the Patriots division. Tom Brady last year had 3,554 yards, 28 touchdowns, and the lowest of the year, 2 interceptions.
Which I want to jump in on that. Tom Brady was suspended for 4 weeks and somehow still managed to have that good of a year, with Gronk being out the second half of the year.
And had a 112.2 passer rating. Ryan Tannehill had 2,995 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions with a 93.5 QBR. Tyrod Taylor did decent last year with 3,023 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions with an 89.7 passer rating. And the worst in the division was Ryan Fitzpatrick with only 2,700 yards, 17 interceptions, or 12 touchdowns and 17 interceptions with a 69.6 passer rating.
Now I want to jump in a little bit. Tannehill I feel like he's better than how he was played. He didn't really show it, but then there's Rex Ryan who wanted to bench Tyrod Taylor. He didn't have a bad year, he just didn't have the touchdowns that most teams need.
Yeah. The best in the division, obviously, has to go to Tom Brady. Granted, this will probably be his last year in this coming up year, but I still think he's going to do pretty good next year. And then after that, I have either Tannehill getting better or Tyrod Taylor taking over after Brady gets back in that division. Or after Brady leaves.
Nobody will really be as good as Brady in that division, I don't think. So, you think Tom Brady will be the best in the division still,
Yeah.
but you feel Tyrod and Ryan will battle it for the best once he retires. And most of these were just like decision based. Like we decided to put Brian Hoyer as the Bears QB,
As the 49ers QB.
or as the 49ers QB, and we decided to do a lot of different stuff. We decided to put Deshaun Kaiser as a Browns QB because he just got drafted. They're trying to decision based, so don't rip us in the comments or something. I'm gonna do the AFC North right now. Deshaun Kaiser, which I just said, I feel like he's gonna have a pretty good year next year with 3,400 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions with a 92.1 QBR. This is why. They're gonna pass a lot with Deshaun Kaiser. They barely have a run game. Maybe if they got Dalvin Cook in the second round, but they didn't. The Vikings got him. If they got Dalvin, they might have had a little bit more of a run game,
Yes.
which would have helped Kaiser or something in games. So that's why I put Kaiser passing a lot more than he probably should in his first year, which is why he broke the record for most touchdown passes in a season for a rookie. Joe Flacco last year had 4,317 yards, a little under the radar, with 20 touchdowns and 15 interceptions, which is probably why it was under the radar. 83.5. I think he passes a little more than he should as well. He's a guy that would have benefited from Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook or Leonard Fournette because he passes a lot more than most quarterbacks in this division. So I think he would have really benefited from guys like that. Ben Roethlisberger last year had 3,819 yards, 29 touchdowns, 13 interceptions with a 95.9 QBR. Now, this is a little weird because his team did the best, but he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the division last year. Obviously, the worst were the Browns' mixture of 5 quarterbacks this year. I'll talk about that later. Andy Dalton last year, 4,206 yards, 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 91.8 QBR. So, honestly, Andy Dalton went way under the radar, just didn't throw as many touchdowns as he probably should have, but he didn't have his red zone threat in AJ Green.
Yeah.
So, I feel like he did that under the radar, so I'm not going to give him the best quarterback in the North right now. I'm going to give that to Ben Roethlisberger because he's just been consistently great all over his career. So next year, I feel like it will be Andy Dalton because Ben Roethlisberger is winding down. His year won't be as good. He's going to throw more interceptions last year. He's going to throw next year. He's going to throw less yards. He's going to throw he's going to throw less touchdowns. I had him downgrading for next year. But Andy Dalton will probably be the best QB in the division in the next few years. I have him going for 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions with a 94.3 QBR for Andy Dalton. For Joe Flacco next year, I do have him going 4,100 yards, 22 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 89.6 QBR. I just feel like he can't limit his interceptions very well.
Also, I have to add, it's usually Ravens get kind of screwed over with the scheduling. They usually end up with hard schedules. So,
Maybe if they were hooked up with the Cowboys schedule from last year.
Oh, yeah, they would maybe.
They might have made the playoffs even. But, they have to go against the Browns 2 times a year. They beat them both times, but it's like a bye week.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay.
Maybe not this year. I think the Browns are headed in the right direction.
Yeah. Browns, I honestly see them going second in the division.
This year?
To the Steelers, yeah.
Dang. That's a pretty bold prediction.
They did pretty good on their first 2 nights in the draft.
Yeah.
Some good pickups.
See, they got David Njoku. They got Deshaun Kaiser, of course. They got
Myles Garrett.
They got Jabril Peppers, who can really play anywhere on defense except for the D-line.
Yes.
So, yeah, he has the hip power to play safety, but he doesn't have necessarily the size of a linebacker, but he has the speed.
Yes, I put him as a safety and a kick returner, like he was originally meant to be.
Yeah, he looks kind of like a Devin Hester kind of guy.
He does,
but
except he won't be playing
receiver yet. So, you got your next one?
Yes, the NFC West. All right, so last year, Russell Wilson had 4,219 yards, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions with a 92.6 passer rating, which is pretty good, considering he was hurt a lot of the beginning of the season, and he still played through it and had a good season.
High ankle sprain, and for week 1, had Ndamukong Suh practically step on his ankle, which always sucks when you have like a 315-pound man step on your ankle. He also had a sprained MCL when a 49ers player, they were trying to injure him. I think that's why they took him out in the second game, because they thought they were trying to hurt Russell. So they took him out for safety, but he still played through those injuries. He didn't miss one snap.
All right. So take into consideration for this next quarterback, Brian Hoyer was injured for a majority of the season.
We wrote that down right after his stats, just wrote injury after.
For playing, I think he played 6 games last year, maybe?
Yeah.
He had 1,445 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions with a 98 passer rating.
Which just surprises me, because he shows he can lead an offense for a little bit, but I feel like when it comes down to the wire, he can't. But he can lead them well, but if he has weapons like Pierre Garçon, he does in San Francisco, if he has weapons like Pierre Garçon and stuff, who knows what he can do?
Yeah. Another kind of special one here. Next, we'll do Jared Goff. He only played half the season, but his stats are pretty pathetic, honestly. No hate against Jared Goff. Just has to play better and not force the pass. with only 1,089 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, with the worst passer rating of last year with a 63.6.
That's he only played half the season, so you can't like hate on him, but you can bro, that's a crappy season right there.
You can always hate a little bit when you throw more interceptions than touchdowns.
Right.
Then Carson Palmer, probably going to be his last season coming up here.
Yeah, he was talking about retirement this past year.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Fitzgerald, they're preparing for life after Fitzgerald and Palmer right now. Did they end up drafting a receiver?
No, I don't think so.
Oh right, they got Hassan Reddick, and they got a CV.
Alright, so Carson Palmer's stats last year, he actually did the best in yards, touchdowns, and had the second best passer rating. He had a 4,233 yard season, 26 touchdowns, 14 interceptions with an 87.2 passer rating.
Which does surprise me because Carson Palmer is getting older, but it seems like he's playing better since he actually has weapons in Arizona.
And their defense is finally starting to be able to...
Right. Tyrann Mathieu will be healthy this year.
Yes.
Getting that momentum on offense,
And
which
they
will
got
help.
Campbell down low on the line, which is a big pass rusher there.
He signed with the Jags, remember?
Oh yeah, I forgot he did
Campbell
that.
left.
Man, if they still had Campbell, dude, their defense would just...
Reddick is coming. Hassan, if you guys, I challenge you to go watch Hassan Reddick highlights. They're pretty dang beast. He's underrated. I feel like he could have gone higher in the first round, but nobody really knew who he was because he played for Temple.
Yeah.
So
that's another thing I don't like about the draft. A lot of teams kind of like judge people by their colleges. If you don't come from a good college, you're not going to be a good player.
That's how they judged Johnny Manziel.
I mean, people from big colleges do play good, but that's not always the case.
Like Tony Romo played well his first few years. He was undrafted out of, I forgot what, it was like Southern Illinois or something.
Yeah, it was something.
It was in Illinois, I know that. But yeah, he wasn't.
I mean, take a look at Corey Davis. He
Davis
just got drafted, and he was from WMU.
Yeah, like it's not always the way we just said it is because Corey Davis went to Western, which is it's not Division II, but it's Division I. But it's like they're like some of the lowest in the division. They went to the Cotton Bowl this year, which he was a very big part of.
All right, so my best quarterback in that division has to be Russell Wilson. I see Palmer putting up good stats next year with almost a 5,000 yard season for his last season, go out with a bang. But I see Russell Wilson taking their team all the way to the conference championship next year.
Plus, Wilson has a little bit more help on the offensive line this year.
Yes.
They got a new defensive tackle in the draft, the second pick of the draft, who was looked at to be a first round talent. Malik McDowell played for Michigan State. He's a great pass rusher as a defensive tackle, but they need a little bit more of a run stopper. Either way, he's going to help them big time.
Yes, I agree fully. So,
yeah.
On next with NFC East.
NFC East. It's Dak Prescott last year, who played much better than people thought he would, getting drafted out of the fourth round and coming in for Tony Romo after an injury. 3,667 yards, 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 104.9 QBR. I really want to highlight the 4 interceptions part. Tom Brady threw 2, which is the least in the league, but he missed 4 games. Dak Prescott threw the most attempts without an interception by a rookie, which broke Tom Brady's record, I believe.
Fact check that.
Yeah, you can check that. But Carson Wentz last year went 3,782 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions with a 79.3 QBR. I feel like he threw enough yards, but I feel like the interceptions really hurt him a lot. So, yeah. But I have some improvement from him in the second year of his career. He's going to avoid the sophomore slump, I think. Eli Manning had 4,027 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions with an 86.0 QBR. I know Preston is a little bit of a hater in Eli Manning because they beat the Packers a couple times in the playoffs. Hey, you can't. He's taken down Tom Brady twice, so I feel like you can give him a little bit of respect. I know you have been for most of this, for when I was writing this down and stuff. Anyway, I think the season was a little under the radar. He always has a high interception number because of the amount of times the Giants throw the ball during the season. You look at their running back, they don't have one. Rashad Jennings was their only running back. They thought they were expected to take Dalvin Cook in the first round, but they took a tight end, Evan Engram. I don't know why. They didn't really need a tight end. I mean, you could get him later in the draft. I feel like he'd be available in the second round. Dalvin Cook would not. Kirk Cousins actually was less than 100 yards away from a 5,000-yard year, 4,917 yards, 25 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and 97.2 QBR. Now, in 2017, I do have Kirk Cousins improving despite losing weapons like... He lost Garcon, right? Lost Garcon, he lost...
Oh, I believe they
D-Jax.
signed Terrell Pryor, though, didn't they?
Yeah, but they did get Terrell Pryor, which is a big end zone threat because he's a 6'3" wide receiver. You don't see very many of those. Corey Davis is as well, which is why I think he's going to be such a threat with the Titans because of his speed as well as that side size.
And just another thing about the Giants, Odell is overrated. He had a good rookie season, no doubt about that. But, I mean, if you look at their games last year, I mean, not to be biased to the Packers about that or anything, but Odell dropped 4 wide open passes in that playoff game against the Packers because he talks too much smack, and then he can't back it up sometimes. And that's kind of why Eli Manning throws a lot of interceptions, because, I mean...
Off-tip balls from Odell.
Because he tries to be special. There's a magical thing called you have 2 hands, use them for a reason. You don't always have to use your freaking giant hands to grab the ball out of
He does
the air.
have pretty big hands, though. Next year, I do have improvement for Kirk Cousins, throwing a 5,100-yard year, 32 touchdowns because of Terrell Pryor, 14 interceptions, and 97.8 QBR. Eli Manning, 4,200 yards, 29 touchdowns, but he doesn't limit the interceptions. Still going to throw 15 interceptions, even with Brandon Marshall and people like that, with an 88.7 QBR.
I mean, Brandon Marshall hasn't been looking consistent the past few years. I think it's because he's been in
He's been in the league for so long.
I mean...
Yeah, and then he has a quarterback problem. Like, Terrell Pryor had a quarterback problem. Yeah, Terrell had a 1,000-yard year. I'm pretty sure Brandon Marshall did, too. I'm not quite sure. But he had Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing to him. Whenever he got, like, I think it was like 10 times he got thrown to, it was an interception. Yeah, he didn't have chances to make those catches. Carson Wentz does avoid the sophomore slump with going 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, limiting those interceptions, and also having a 103.6 QBR, also being a candidate for MVP for just a little bit. Dak Prescott is going to get hit by the sophomore slump, maybe get a little bit injured, maybe a little knocked around this year.
Madden curse.
3,000 yards, 22 interceptions, 22 touchdowns. And 12 interceptions. 82.5 QBR for next year. So I feel like Dak, Eli, and I feel like Kirk is the best QB in the league, in the division. Because they probably throw the most out of anybody in the division because Dak Prescott has Ezekiel Elliott. Carson Wentz actually does have a little bit of a boost with Darren Sproles sometimes. Darren Sproles is a little inconsistent, but at least they do run it. So Kirk Cousins has basically no run game, but yet he limits his interceptions enough to where it doesn't really affect them. But he doesn't have the weapons. He doesn't have the weapons that Wentz has now, or Eli Manning. Eli Manning having Marshall and Odell. You have Wentz having Jeffrey, Smith, Matthews. You have Prescott having Bryant, Witten, Zeke, and people like that. Kirk Cousins has Terrell Pryor. He had Garcon and Jackson last year. You can't forget about Jordan Reed, who actually took a step back last year, so you can't really include him in
Robert
the
Kelly
big weapons.
isn't bad either.
Kelly isn't bad, but he's just not an elite back that you can give it the ball to 15 to 20 times a game.
Probably only like 8 to 10.
Maybe 8 to 10 yards times a game, get him about 50 yards at most.
So next, I'm going to be talking about the AFC South with Andrew Luck playing pretty good last year, I'd say, with 4,240 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions with a 96.7 QBR. Blake Bortles almost was right there with actually a pretty good season for the Jaguars with 3,905, 23 touchdowns, 16 interceptions with 78.8 passer rating. But he didn't really limit his interceptions because he tries to force the ball to Allen Robinson a lot.
Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns, they're both pretty big and they both have pretty good verticals, but I mean, you can't just give it to them all the time.
You can't. Then you got next year, since Deshaun Watson will be playing for the Houston Texans, and he probably most likely will be starting. I have him throwing for 3,800 yards next season, 29 touchdowns, 16 interceptions with a 101.1 passer rating.
Which is pretty good for a dang rookie. Like,
Yes.
How many touchdowns did you have through?
29.
That's a rookie record, and it's even better than Deshaun Kaiser I had. And again, the Texans have a little bit of a run game, but I feel like with a guy like Deshaun Watson throwing to a former Clemson Tiger, DeAndre Hopkins, I feel like they're definitely going to
And then
have more yards and more
you
touchdowns.
can't forget about Will Fuller either.
Will Fuller, yeah, he's a speedy dude. Like, he's John Ross's weaker cousin.
Weaker cousin, true.
Not as fast, but he's definitely fast.
And then Mariota last year got hurt the last 2 weeks. 3,426 yards, 29 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, limited interceptions a lot last year, with a 95.6 passer rating.
Who do you think is going to be the best quarterback in the AFC South next year?
Andrew Luck stat-wise, but playing better, I have Deshaun Watson and the Texans winning the division.
Ooh, the Texans winning. What do you think the Texans' record is going to be?
11-5.
Because I have the Titans maybe going 10-6. I thought they might win the division because they now have one more weapon in Corey Davis. They just need. They have a consistent running back in DeMarco Murray. He's consistent in real life, not when I play him as in Madden.
I have a slump going on for the Colts. I actually have the Colts losing the division.
Losing the division. The Jags do look much more impressive on defense, getting A.J. Boye, Calais Campbell, re-signing Paul Posluszny, I think. So they are looking much better next year. I think the Jags can come in third, but I mean they still have room to improve on offense. Like they need a running back, I think. Oh, they got Leonard Fournette,
Yeah, they did.
so they actually have a chance for second,
I
maybe
see
a
them
wild
going
card.
9-7 next
They
year.
have a chance for a wild card next year, depending on how the team is run, how the coaches run it. He has a really good. They have a really good chance of making playoffs.
Yes.
Um,
Agree. 100%.
Our little dog over there. AFC West, I was going to put Patrick Mahomes for this, but I decided I'm not. Alex
Smith will be starting next
Smith,
year.
yeah, Smith will be starting next year. If I put Mahomes, it'd be probably the 27 yards passing.
For like a minute, like
He played
like
2
tenths
minutes
of the game, like
when they're just running the ball anyway.
preseason stats.
Alex Smith will throw for 3,500. Well, he did throw for 3,502 yards. 15. He didn't. No, I see. He threw for 15 touchdowns and 8 interceptions with a 91.2 QBR. He limited the interceptions, but it seems like he limited the touchdowns as well.
He did a lot because that means every touchdown he threw.
And he threw much more interceptions. You look at the ratio for Tom Brady. That's 28-2. That's one touchdown. What's one interception every 14 passes? You have every 14 touchdowns. You got Dak Prescott, who didn't have 28 touchdowns, but he had 4 interceptions, which is better than that. Alex Smith, if you doubled his interceptions, which is at 8, it would be more than his touchdowns.
Yeah.
Trevor Siemian actually had a pretty dang good year. I had to look up the stats with Paxton Lynch and Trevor Siemian to see who actually started most of the year, and it was definitely Trevor Siemian who had 3,401 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, 84.6 QBR. Trevor Siemian, he played pretty dang well for, I think he was like a 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He backed up Peyton Manning
Back
that
up
year they won
Peyton
the Super
Manning
Bowl.
one year. I feel like Trevor Siemian will improve a little bit, but like his touchdowns will, maybe a little bit on his yards. Derek Carr was definitely the MVP candidate, throwing 3,937 yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, limiting those interceptions big time with a 96.7 QBR. He was the MVP candidate most of the year before he got hurt in the last
week.
Was it really the last week? Yeah, I think it might have been.
If he wouldn't have been hurt, Raiders would have went to
The divisional.
At least, the divisional. They wouldn't have lost in the wild card to the Texans.
Yeah, they would have gone 14-2 and gone to the divisional.
But no, they went 13-3 and lost in the wild card. Oh no, they went.
Yeah, they lost in the wild card
Yeah.
to the Texans because the Texans went and played. Brock Osweiler led that. Surprising. I know. Was Tom Savage who won that?
No, it was Osweiler.
Congrats, Osweiler. You're not included as a starting quarterback on this list.
No, because Deshaun Watson is starting over you. Nobody cares about that. I don't follow Brock Osweiler because, I really didn't like him, especially when he was backing up Peyton Manning. He almost took the Broncos out of the playoffs.
Philip Rivers' 2016 stats were 4,386 yards, 33 touchdowns, but a whopping 21 interceptions with 87.9 QBR. That's really bad. 21 interceptions. That's so horrible. Gosh, that's terrible. I don't know how he had that many yards throwing that many interceptions. If the Chargers are ever gonna try and win this division, this elite division with the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Broncos, they came in last with the Broncos, who had a quarterback battle. You don't want to have a quarterback battle halfway through the season. And they came in last in the division. That's probably because of the interception toll. 4,000. I have them going for 4,500 yards next year, 34 touchdowns and 22 interceptions with an 88.3 QBR. Derek Carr, huge improvement since Latavius Murray left. They do have Marshawn Lynch, but I feel like since he's getting older, he won't take as many carries. 4,800 yards, 36 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions with 106.7 QBR, with a chance to win MVP. I don't know who's going to win MVP yet. I have it going between Derek Carr and Matt Stafford.
Okay. So going off
Philip
Philip Rivers. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll just do Alex Smith. 3,700 yards I have him going for. I wrote the interceptions for some reason first. 10 interceptions and 22 touchdowns with wow. I wrote interceptions twice.
It's okay, Sam. So he's throwing 21 interceptions next season?
Obviously. He's going to throw 11 interceptions and 98.6 QBR. 98.6 QBR. You were going to say something about
So going off the Chargers, Philip Rivers had that many passing yards because they couldn't get nowhere running. He was forced to pass 8 out of 10 times in a game, compared to most teams where they try to balance it out, maybe like 6 out of 10 passing or 4 out of 10 sometimes, even if you're early in the running back. Like back when the Seahawks had Marshawn Lynch.
They were running it 56% of the time.
Yeah.
Now they're passing it like 65% of the time.
Yeah. So that's the divisions.
Now we gotta debate who's the best QB in the league. This is when it gets heated, boys. Oh goodness, I just had a voice crack. This is when it gets heated.
All right.
We all nominate one person
From
we
each
both
division.
We each nominate the one person who won the division domination. I nominate Kirk Cousins for the East.
Alright.
Maybe you want to write this on a marker. Cousins for the East. Rodgers for the North. Rodgers gets. This is when it gets heated. This is getting heated here, boys. We are going Andy Dalton for the North. I know I labeled Ben Roethlisberger as the best, but I feel like Andy Dalton did better. And Derek Carr for the West. This is when it gets heated.
Oh, I gotta take.
I got you. I'll write this down now.
Alright, I gotta take Jameis Winston next year for that division. I gotta take Deshaun Watson. Other division is I take Russell Wilson. And my other division was Tom Brady, of course. Tom Brady has to be in there. Can't leave him out of the best quarterback debate.
So we are going to do the top three, but we got to debate this. So we got Winston, Cousins, Rodgers, Dalton, Carr, Wilson, Brady. I think I said Wilson twice.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of W names right there.
Yeah, there is. I think we can all just agree on this. We're eliminating Will Watson right away because he's a rookie.
Yes, he's not going to make that impact, but I say he does push his team very far.
He pushes his team far, but I don't see him being one of the best QBs in the league this year. He's top 8.
Yes.
And if you don't count like the other people in the division, like Dak Prescott would be in here if it wasn't for the best person in the division. Roethlisberger would be in here. Manning would be in here probably. Stafford would be in here. And then Palmer would probably be in here. I'm saying
Andrew
Luck would probably be in here. Matt Ryan would definitely be in here. Why do you think Winston will be one of the best QBs in the league next year?
I mean, Winston, already going into his third year, he's not going to be elite, but he is going to make an impact on the division. Because looking at history, most teams coming out of Super Bowl losses don't play the best.
Play as well.
So that leaves Tampa Bay with the division wide open.
Right. With the Saints have people quivering in their boots with AP now. But only way Winston will be good, be one of the best, is if he limits his interceptions. He has a lot of interceptions, to say the least. I think we can just say this by eliminating him right away, because the South isn't a great division for QBs. I mean, you have former great QBs. Drew Brees is still pretty great. You have Matt Ryan, who can't win in the playoffs. You have Matt Ryan, I'm sorry. You have Winston, who's an interception machine. And then you have Cam Newton, who has no weapons. So you can't label him as one of the best. So we're going to just take out Winston.
Yeah. Sorry, Winston.
So now, why did I include Cousins? Cousins had a great year despite having minimal Pro Bowlers. Okay, Cousins had a great year despite having minimal Pro Bowlers. He had, I think it was 2 Pro Bowlers. It was himself and Jordan Reed.
Yeah. Which I really don't see how Jordan Reed made it last year.
Yeah, he had a slump last year.
The year before that, though, that's where I really would have wanted him in the Pro Bowl.
Well, but, he's probably one of the best. I don't know if he's actually the best, but I don't know. He's one of the best.
He's gone through a lot of controversy with the Redskins about being traded and let go.
Now the Browns were trying to trade for him, but then they got Kaiser. So, yeah, I think this can go without saying. We're going to knock out Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, let's get him out of here. I mean, he's a good quarterback and all, but that's another division where, I mean, there's not a lot of good QBs. I mean, you got Manning, and that's about it. But
Manning and Cousins.
Because Manning has 2 Super Bowl wins, so he has room to talk. I mean, kind of. I mean, he did beat Tom Brady twice, the only team to beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice.
Next is Aaron Rodgers. I can barely ever debate him for not being one of the best in the league. Other than when his defense got exposed, he got exposed too. He couldn't keep up with the Falcons' scoring pace, and he got a little bit exposed.
I mean, that's another thing too. The offense is just injury prone on the receiving core. I mean, Cobb falls to the ground. Oh, I got hurt ribs. Take me out the game. Frickin' James Jones gets hurt 2 years back. I mean, take me out of the game. And then, I mean, Nelson has room to talk.
They do have weapons, but I feel like when his weapons get eliminated, he gets a little exposed.
He does, but that's when he has to kick into overdrive and take his 10 seconds to throw the ball.
Which is why I'm not putting him at number 1, but I am putting him at number 2 in the league. So, Aaron Rodgers, number 2 in the league. We have our number 2.
Andy Dalton.
We have 4 guys left, and we have 2 spots to fill. We have Wilson, Brady, Andy Dalton, and Carr. Who do you want to debate next?
Let's do Dalton.
Dalton is not one of the best in the league. We can say that right now. He has John Ross and
AJ Green.
And AJ Green's back. So
And Tyler Eifert.
and Tyler Eifert. If they are consistently healthy, then maybe they have a chance.
I mean,
I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure.
I mean, I'm honestly
But
say
I think
just
we can just
get him out of here because he's not in top competing for.
just get Andy Dalton out of here.
So we got Derek Carr,
Wilson and Brady. We have 3 left with 2 spots to fill. Who will be out? Ooh, Wilson and Brady.
I mean, let's just get Brady out of the way. I mean, we already know Brady's gonna be on the list.
Wilson was the only one in this group to throw for 4,000 yards this year. But Brady is definitely the best in the league. If he did have, if he wasn't
Rodgers threw for 4,000.
If he wasn't suspended, he definitely would have gotten 4,000 yards.
Rodgers threw for 4,000 last year.
No, like in the group
that
people
group.
left. So Brady is gone.
Carr.
We have one. I feel like Wilson would be better than Carr only at this purpose. He played through his injury.
Yeah.
He had 2 injuries and he played through them. He doesn't have the weapons really that Carr has. He has no run game now. He has no offensive line. He's running around back there for his life. He has he has one receiver that's actually good, and then he has Tyler Lockett, who's a good returner. And then he has Jimmy Graham as well.
Jimmy Graham has been an injury prone since
he's
he's been to Seattle.
He's been prone to 500-yard years, which aren't terrible for a tight end, but they're not super.
But
great.
superstar tight ends like him should be putting up
Yeah.
almost 1,000.
Almost 1,000. But so he's out there running for his life. He has barely any weapons. Carr has Cooper and Crabtree, which are 2 of the best receivers in the league at the time. They both had 1,000-yard years. So who are you marking at this? Who are you marking at 3?
This is hard. I mean, I like both of them.
I like both of them too, and I feel like the only thing that Wilson has on Carr is the yards and the toughness.
I mean, you also got to take it in there, though, that Wilson has been in the league longer than Carr has.
Yeah, but Carr was a first-round pick, or second-round pick.
Yeah.
Like first pick in the second round.
I have to say Wilson. It has to be Wilson.
After tough debate, it has been debated that Wilson. Of course, this is not totally accurate because we only took 1 from each division. If there was 2, even 2 from each division, we might have had a different outcome.
Yeah.
But Rodgers and Brady are definitely top 2. There's nobody better than Rodgers and Brady. I feel like the only person who could be here is maybe Matt Stafford.
Or like Eli Manning if he
Maybe.
comes out of his.
Ben Roethlisberger or something. But that's all for the video, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I'm going to go press the button and
See you next weekend.
see you next. Ooh, that's a 43-minute video.